Okay, I guess we will start. Basically, I do see there are few new students today. Okay, nevertheless, I think it will still be useful because every lesson we are covering a particular component of your English paper lah. Okay, I think for listening and oral both are done already. So we will be focusing on like your paper 1 and 2. All right. Paper 1 your writing. Okay, paper 2 will be all other components, right? So for today, okay, oh wait, there's one more person coming in. I don't have a Basha here on my name list. Is that your real name or is it your parents' name?
My brother's name accidentally.
Okay, so you're Isha.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, great. Okay, so let me just share screen first. Today's focus will be on synthesis and transformation, right? Yeah, okay, a lot of new students, yeah. So I think Ishak, you're also a new student, right? First lesson with us. First and possibly last or second last because PSLE is in just another 1 or 2 weeks. But nevertheless, I think if you would like to sign up for our Sec 1 preparation, Secondary 1 preparation class, you're always welcome to do so, yeah? All right. Don't have to worry for the new students because we actually do different components every week. So basically it's arbitrary of another lesson. It's not like a continuous kind of thing. So you won't be lost even if you join now. Yes. And Wilma, thanks for reminding us. Yes, your PSL is in another 5 days time. So I suppose next week, because English is the first lesson. I mean the first paper, right? So first paper means that next week we will not have lesson anymore because our lesson is on Saturday. Okay, so that means I think all of you will be directed to join Mr. Teo's class on Monday, if I'm not wrong, right? I think you would have been informed because there's no point in you attending the P6 English lesson on Saturday because your exams would have been over, right? So in this case, I guess this is my last lesson with you. Then after PSLE, you're gonna take a few weeks break, and then after PSLE, you might want to come back for your post-exam activities as well as secondary 1 preparation for English. Okay, so this will be our last lesson before your PSLE. But after that, okay, I'm more than happy to welcome you back for your Sec 1 preparation. Yeah. Okay. Today's focus, as you can see, is going to be on synthesis and transformation. Okay, which is a component which I think will definitely hold a certain weightage, and also in terms of like, I think we've gone through quite a handful of like different synthesis and transformation questions. Okay, but today specifically we're focusing a bit on relative pronouns. Yeah. And then later on, if I have some time, I'll just share some tips with you in doing your paper for next week. Okay. Right. Okay, firstly, I think we'll finish up our grammar MCQs first. I will return you the money what I borrowed from you as soon as possible. So all these words are actually your determiners. Okay, I see some of you typing the answers in already. So of course, it depends on what are the determiners. You will have to then decide which one is the best answer, right? So usually when we talk about who, we are referring to a person. But in this case, you need to know very clearly what is the subject you're referring to. So in this case, is the money, right? So money usually is not an animate object. It's not a living thing. It's not a person. So in this case, since it's an inanimate object, usually we will use which. I think most of you, those who've sent in the answer, very good. Answer is B. Okay. Now, when do we use whose? Whose is when we are referring to an object that belongs to a subject. Okay. And then when we have whom, is usually linking a person to person. Who is just one person. But when we say whom, we are actually more likely to be referring to the relationship between people, right? Okay, so for example, my teacher, Mrs. Tan, whom I talked to recently, right? Is one of my favorite teacher or something like that. Okay. So same thing next one. Later on, if we have time, we might be able to have a game on all these determiners. Yeah. The gentleman what my father introduced to me earlier was his boss. Okay, again, let's just highlight the answers again. So for who is usually what they mean is like what or which person or people. It can be singular, it can be plural as well. Okay, so it's usually used in to introduce a clause to give further information about a person or people previously mentioned. Okay, so that's who, like I say, is usually just referring to one person or a group of people. Now, for whose, okay, whose is this, right? It means linking an object to a person. So it's like a belonging to, or is it associated with which person? Right? Okay. And then, of course, we also have whom. Whom is linking a person to a person. So instead of who as the subject, we use whom, right? So it usually is to refer to so how do you use whom? You can replace it with another pronoun like he or him or her. Then you use whom. Okay. Who who refers to the subject, but whom refers to the object of a verb. Okay, so it will usually refer, like I said, who is usually referring to one person. I think a lot of students mix up between who and who. Who usually refers to one person, but whom refers to the object of a verb. That means you are linking the object to the subject, okay, of either a verb or a preposition. Right. Let me see. A lot of comments there. Answer is, a lot of you said the answer is C. Yeah. Okay. And then of course, lastly, which. Okay, which usually is asking for referring to something previously mentioned when introducing a clause. Okay. So it's basically usually referring to an object lah. Okay, refer to an object. Which one? So the gentleman, we're linking a person to another person. So yes, answer is who. Okay. Now next one. Your sister has bought another mobile phone. Okay, this one, because there is has, which is positive. So what do you think is the answer? Okay, yes, so the opposite will be hasn't she. This is what we call question text. Okay, these are example of question text. So they have to be the opposite. So has and hasn't, right? Hasn't she? Right? So this one might come out in your synthesis and transformation as well. All right. So for question text, generally when one is positive, you write the other one in negative. Okay. You're not thirsty. Now, of course, this is a contraction. If you write it in full, it basically means you are, right? So you're not thirsty. So the opposite, because this is positive, right? You are. The opposite will be aren't. Because aren't, if I were to write it in full, is actually are not, right? This is a contraction. Okay, so are not. Okay, so aren't you? Okay, she's really good. Okay, she is really good. Oh, it's the last question. You mean that there isn't this question on your worksheet, is it? Was there this question in your worksheet? She's really good. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Sorry. This one is A. I get what you mean. Okay, why is it A? Because this word is not. So this is actually considered not saying it's negative, but it's mainly like a noun, right? There isn't or you're not. So this one should be A, right? So you're not thirsty again, are you? Right? So it's A. Very good. Okay, now next one. She's really good in English. Okay, isn't she? Right? The opposite, right? So isn't she? Because she isn't is actually is not. So it's the opposite. Yeah? Okay, so all these are your question tags. So in this grammar MCQ exercise, I think we've done question tags. We've also done some determiners like which, whom, whose, and whose, right? Okay, next one, Compre Cloze. Compre Cloze is usually found in your section B of your paper 2. Generally, a lot of students will struggle with the Compre Cloze because they couldn't just find a word that suits the context. Okay, but my tip for you for this component is that always find contextual clues. There are certain words that belong together. Okay, so let's have a look, huh? So, for example, this is a verb, right? Was is a verb. So usually what comes after a verb? It can be an object as in a noun. Okay. It can also be a pronoun, right? Was his, was her, right? So it can be a pronoun. It can also be an adjective, right? Was beautiful, was handsome. Okay, so the moment you see that, you roughly can tell, you definitely cannot put a preposition inside. Okay, you cannot put like, of course, was, yes, I think someone said was known. Yeah. Okay, so was known because this is also a verb. So it can also be a verb. Okay, in Greek mythology, Hercules was the son of Zeus, king of the gods. Hercules was known for being a great hero. Okay, what? Courage, bravery, and strength carried him through many adventures. So he was known, or he can say he was remembered, he was rumored. Right? He was remembered for. Okay, whose courage, very good. So again, here it's a determiner. Right? This one is a determiner. Okay. So according to legend, Hercules married a princess named Megara, with whom he won a happy life. It's a life. So what is the verb? Because this one seems like a subject, verb, object clause, right? Whom he lived, someone said live, but I think you do need to be mindful of the tenses as well, because if you realize the entire passage is mainly in past tense. Okay, so whom he lived or whom he had also can. Okay. Yeah, so whom he led a happy life. I think that's fine as well. Okay, but you need to make sure that the tenses are correct. So another thing to take note of when you're doing Compre Cloze is identify the verb form in the passage. So if it's mainly past tense, you need to make sure your answers are in past tense as well. Okay? But one day, Hercules was tricked by a curse into hurting his family. Hercules was what by what he had done. Ashamed, very good. Okay, he was ashamed. He was terrified.